Welcome to episode 68 of the Voices of Boyle podcast. It is Sunday, April 13th, and I'm delighted today to welcome Jane Suffin and Lucy Egan to the podcast. Jane and Lucy are here to talk about their newly formed committee called Friends of Assylinn. We talk about why the group came together to form the committee, what their goals are, and some of the struggles that they've come up against so far. We also talk about the importance of community involvement in restoring Assylinn to the restful and peaceful place that the deceased and their families deserve. And just as a side note before we get into it, if you'd like to support the committee in any way, they do run community involvement days where they ask people to join together and get busy up in the graveyard doing tasks like gardening and things like that. They also have a GoFundMe running, which we will put the link to in the show notes. And next weekend, Easter weekend, they have a church gate collection in St. Joseph's Church. So that's it. Let's get into it, and I hope you enjoyed the chat. On today's episode of The Voice of the Boyle, we're chatting to Lucy and Jane from the newly formed committee for Assylinn. Friends of Assylinn is the name of the community. Welcome to the podcast, girls.
Thank you, Florence.
So let's start, girls. We'll briefly, if each of you can briefly introduce yourselves, just for those of you that don't know who you are. Most people will, though.
Jane Suffin from Boyle, chairperson of the Friends of Assylinn Cemetery Committee.
Lucy Egan. I'm from Boyle also, and I'm PRO.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Lovely. And girls, you recently formed the committee back in, was it January?
November.
Okay.
November. We called a public meeting. Couple of us got together and we decided it was time to do something about the state of the cemeteries. So we called a public meeting, and there was a good attendance, but we felt that there wasn't enough to actually form, to put together a committee with the support. We felt we needed the support of a bigger group. So we called a second meeting 2 weeks afterwards, which was a great attendance. And from that, the committee was elected by the public.
Brilliant. And that was the end of November, Jane?
Yes. Yeah.
Great stuff. So we're now, just this podcast will be going out in a few weeks, but we're now the start of March. Mm-hmm. So you've been going a good few weeks by now.
We have. It's been non-stop actually since the committee was formed. From what we know, there was an old committee there. I spoke to a person involved in the old committee, and I told them that, we were having a public meeting to set up a working committee for Assylinn Cemetery, and that we'd appreciate if they came along. We would either work with them or they could work with us, because they had paperwork and that all in place. That didn't happen. There was nothing coming from the old committee. So we decided then that we would have to start from scratch. So since November, it has been non-stop trying to get registered and paperwork in order and everything we need to move forward as the new committee.
So you just felt like you had nothing to build on, so it's been much harder to get going.
Yeah, because we had to open a bank account, we had to get insurance, we had to get tax clearance, and register with different departments through Roscommon County Council, which had the old committee came on board with us, we wouldn't have had to have done any of that. We could have just continued on. Mm. But it is what it is. We have all in place now, and it's time to move forward and get the work done for the people in Assylinn, the people that built the town. That there's been very little respect shown to by Roscommon County Council, and it's the same in every county, which it shouldn't be.
And Jane, the biggest obstacle then since starting, I suppose, was forming a brand new committee with, how many members have you got now on the committee?
We have 6 members.
6 members.
6 members. There's myself as chairperson, Maria Coleman as vice chair, Sinead Corrigan as secretary, Regina McLaughlin is treasurer, Stephanie Quinn is vice treasurer, and Lucy is the PRO. Fantastic. So we have a 6-person committee, and the 6 people on the committee all have the same aim and all have the same determination and fight to make sure that Assylinn turns into a place that the people that's up there would be proud of and that the people of the town can be proud of, you know, because when you look at some of the cemeteries around the country, they're absolutely beautiful, you know, but ours is just forgotten about.
Mm. And Jane, how has the community, and Lucy as well, how has the community responded to your efforts so far?
We've had great feedback from the community so far, and everyone has realised that we're a committee now that's starting off. We haven't got a cent to our names, but we have spoke to some people and we have outlined a couple of bits that we want doing. Mm-hmm. There's one thing that we're going to focus on first, and it's the gate at the bottom of the old cemetery, which isn't wheelchair accessible, or anyone with mobility issues can't get in there. So that gate needs to be changed. So we spoke to Sean and Tom Rock because it is a stone wall. And we spoke to Sean and Tom about the wall and they looked at it. And Sean and Tom have said that they will do the work on the wall as sponsorship to the committee. Johnny Kevill has said that he will sponsor the new gates for that area. And Wayne from Suffin Memorials has sponsored this year's insurance for the committee just to get us going. That's all. You know, we needed them, you know, and to have, like, they've come on board with us without any pressure, you know, because they can see how passionate we are and how important it is. Mm-hmm. You know, and we're thankful for that, you know, and we're going to be thankful for any bit of help we can get from anybody.
And I suppose just to put it out there, you are starting from zero.
Yes, yeah.
Like a lot of committees that have a rollover from the previous committee or anything like that, but you're starting with zero.
And I suppose that's why we changed the name. We wanted kind of to I suppose tell people that this is brand new and this is, I suppose, a different way of thinking. So that's why we've gone with the different name. It's, as anyone's going to know, we're still going to know by Assylinn Cemetery, but at the same time, just for the complete difference and change. So that's why we kind of changed
the fresh perspective.
Fresh,
It's a lovely name, actually.
Yeah.
Who came up with the name, or was it a joint?
It doesn't sound as cold as cemetery committee.
Yeah. It's a lovely name.
It is. Yeah. Some of the girls on the committee suggested it, and we just said, go for it, because we had no other kind of alternative. But at the same time, no, it's lovely.
Yeah, well, we had been advised, like we had that a bit of advice from people, you know, and they said with the way that things were going on, you know, we were emailing, ringing and getting no response from the other committee who we found out resigned on the 31st of December through an email to the council, but that wasn't relayed to us. We got advice and, you know, a clean slate, start and just remove yourself from the name that was there. And that's what we've done. You know, we're a brand new committee. We've brand new ideas. You know, we've the determination and the willpower, you know, to achieve.
Brilliant. And that's good for everyone to know. And I suppose just on that note, you can do nothing without funding.
No, we can't.
So talk to us a little bit about what is there, what's possible.
At the minute, we just got all the paperwork you need to finalise last week that will enable us to apply for grant funding from Roscommon County Council. There is the Farm Relief Service scheme over there, but that's only going to be 2.5 days every second week cutting the grass.
Okay.
Now, the lads, there was 4, but 2 of them retired. And I have to give them credit where credit is due. They have done over the years the best that they could with the resources that were available to them. All they had to work with was a strimmer each. That's it.
And it's a huge area.
It's absolutely massive. And it's absolutely crazy to think, you know, that these lads have been doing it for so many years. You know, and you see the vast area and sure, it's just repetitive all the time what has to be done.
Really, you could employ someone full-time nearly and they'd just about be able to keep on top of it.
Well, what's needed up there really is, and I remember it being up there years ago, as a CE scheme.
Yes.
Week on, week off. And there was maybe 8 of them on it. And the cemetery was never in better condition because they were there all the time and there was a big group of them. Some of them done the weeding, some of them done the strimming, some of them done something else. You know,
and is that scheme finished now, Jane, or is it replaced with the other one where it's only the two lads?
It seems to be replaced now with this leadership scheme that's been there for the last few years. But there's nothing to say that we, why shouldn't we get a CE scheme over there again? There's enough of people unemployed and, on the dole, that can form a CE scheme and get it back a CE scheme in the cemeteries again. That's what's needed.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that, I suppose you'd need community involvement as well.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, we are going to need endless help from the community to get this thing off the ground, and it's as simple as that.
We had a clean up there a couple of weeks back, and we got huge support. We were actually kind of shocked by how many people came over, and constant flow of people coming and going, and kind of people you'd never think would have landed came over, and it was just amazing. And at one point, I remember saying to some of the girls on the committee, just stopped and looked and seen, and it would sort of bring a tear to your eye to think that these people want the exact thing that you want, and they want to see it looking well, and they want to try and I suppose for their loved ones look after the place as well.
And we have had since that clean-up. Yeah. I mean, we were only there 2 hours.
That's it, yeah.
And we couldn't believe the work that was done by the people that turned up in the 2 hours.
It was amazing.
And I mean, until we can get our feet on the ground, it's going to be days like that we're going to be having over the next while until we get some funding. But we've had so much offers of help, people willing to help with machines and with different things since we done that. That's been fantastic, and even people saying, well, we didn't know about it, but let us know when the next one is on.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like, when we went home, when I went home that night, I set up the Facebook page. I suppose realistically, we should have had it set up before that and let people know, because I suppose social media is the main source of us trying to kind of push the word around. So we went home that night and set it up, and then I posted the pictures of what happened and the great work that went on. And no more than that, we got people saying, we didn't know. And, I suppose if I had that done beforehand, it would have been another source of advertisement. But look what we learned from
But you can build on it for the next one, Lucy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because I mean, people are willing now because they can see what can be done in a couple of hours, And I think really, realistically, during COVID, when there was nowhere open and people started going to the cemeteries more than they would have normally went, that it opened people's eyes just as to how derelict and how bad the cemetery is.
Yeah. And it's sad. Like, I suppose most of us in Boyle do have a loved one up there. Yeah. So really, considering everyone has a connection to it, it shouldn't be that way.
Look, I suppose when you go to a cemetery, it's never going to be a happy place.
No.
And you want the best for whoever is buried there. And you want it looking as peaceful and as tranquil as you can. And I suppose even just only recently we had a neighbour that passed away, and the Mehla of men that came over and the neighbours that dug his grave, and there's fantastic tradition down here in the west of Ireland, and you don't want to lose that. And there's a great community spirit when something like that happens. And that's when people who are down, who are sad, that's when they need that help and that lift. They don't need to worry about what's going on. And that's when our community steps in and gives them that hand. So I suppose they're the people that want to give back, and they want to, I suppose, make it as peaceful as they can over there.
That's so true, Lucy, because it's so much more than just trimming the grass and fixing the wall, isn't it?
Even just as simple as a bench for somebody to sit down and actually sit there. You don't have to say anything. You don't let it be a prayer or whatever way you're into, to be able to sit there in peace, but let it actually kind of be nice, that they can look at something that's nice. Because it's a sad enough place as it is. But look, with all the support that we can get, that's going to change. hopefully.
Yeah. And you can bring comfort to people as
Oh, you
well,
can.
just by, like, as you said, if you're sitting there on a bench or in somewhere that's kind of comfortable and you're saying your prayers or reflecting or
Yeah.
whatever, you're not drawn to a big pile of rubbish
Yeah,
that's over
exactly.
in the corner. You're focused,
Especially this time of
you
year
know.
with the long evenings and you'll hear the birds
Yeah.
or whatever. It's just, hopefully we'll bring peace to people over there who is visiting them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that note, isn't it a gorgeous area?
Yeah.
I know a great,
The
it's
river and
like
everything.
graveyard, but
Oh,
it's
God,
such a
yeah.
beautiful area up on the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can just go over there and sit down and
Yeah.
you could sit for hours. You're just, tranquil and you're lost in your own thoughts, but
And we're blessed in that way to
Oh,
have a
yeah.
graveyard like that in that setting. When you go to, say, bigger towns or cities, the graveyard's in the middle of the
Yeah.
town and
Well,
you have cars
You
passing.
even look at the likes of Dublin. It's nearly like a business. It is a business up there. They're waiting for the next person to die, essentially, and I have witnessed it myself personally. It's a horrific. It's rotten to see that there's essentially a mini digger waiting there to bury your loved
it's
one.
a conveyor belt
It
service.
is. It's rotten. And then when you come down this end, there is so much love and tradition and community spirit. And you don't want to lose that. And that's why I suppose we want to set up this for the people of Boyle to provide that. Let it be if somebody did die, a family member or whatever, they could contact Assylinn, the cemetery or the group, so that potentially we could write, Jane, do you know anyone that can help
Brilliant.
with this, that and the other? That's, again, another aspect of this group that we want to kind of help people in our community.
Brilliant, Lucy. And just, I suppose, on that note, are there any bigger projects that you need to get done? Like, what would be high on your list?
First of all, and it's a bone of contention, it has been for years, and I was fighting for this back when I was on the town council. The first time I was on the town council, let alone the second time. The trees in the old cemetery have to come down. They have to come down. Even the breeze there a few nights ago, there's more branches down. They've caused untold damage to graves. The wall, that's the boundary wall for the graveyard, is under that much pressure from the trees that it's going to eventually fall into the field. It's actually common sense that the trees be taken down. But we are getting from Roscommon County Council, all we are getting is we don't have any money. Everything that we have mentioned that we want to see achieved in the cemetery, they have told us they have no problem with it, with project A, B, C. They have no problem with any project, but they just haven't got any money to give us.
So they're giving you free rein in terms of what you can do,
Yeah.
but you need to fund it yourselves.
Yeah, but I mean, I do know from the town council days that the county councils do not get any specific funding for cemeteries. That doesn't come down in the funding to the county councils. The money you pay for plotting the graveyard goes into roads. It doesn't go back into that cemetery.
Okay.
So we're in 2025. We're in one of the richest countries in the world. And I think it's time for every county council around the country to lobby the government to get money for these cemeteries through the central funding. They seem to have billions to be wasting on walls, bicycle sheds, you name it. Crap. That's what they're spending the money. This machine that they got for the arts crowd that, they need now to spend hundreds of thousands on a lead room for. Give money to the people that are trying to do better for their communities. Projects, every county council and every graveyard in Ireland, 90% of them are the property of the councils. So the government should be giving money specifically for graveyards. We have 3 cemeteries in Boyle. You have the Church of Ireland, you have 2 in Assylinn. Each of those cemeteries should get allocated funding for the works that's needed to be done in them. But that's not happening. So, I mean, I am calling on every public representative, not only in Roscommon, across the whole country, to lobby the government for money for funding for cemeteries. An allocation to each county council that will allow people like us that's trying to do the best we can with nothing and starting off nothing to give the people that built up our community and our town a place where they can rest with the respect and dignity that they deserve. And at the minute, that's not happening.
And when you say, Jane, there that when you buy the plot, the money goes back into the roads.
It goes to roads. Yeah.
So any roads?
It just goes into the county council fund as for roads.
That was something I even learned when I got onto this committee. I never realised that you would have safely assumed when I buy a plot, you'd go back into either your local graveyard or a graveyard, and it doesn't.
No, never has.
Madness.
Never has.
How does roads?
I know.
How does that even make sense?
Yeah, it doesn't. Like, where's the connection between you would actually imagine it'd be something to do with heritage and not roads.
Yes.
But it's not. It's just into the council coffers. Whereas if it was given to the graveyard, it'd do something to enhance the graveyard.
So really it's on your shoulders, well, as in on the committee's shoulders and on the community shoulders to look after it.
Yeah, that's basically what we have been told, Yeah. Now, the Colin Kelly, the engineer in Boyle, did say that at the back end of the year, if there was anything left over that he could play around with, that he would, do whatever he could for us. Now, he has told us that the council will put a new gate up at the top of the old cemetery on the road, because old people can't make it up the hills, they're too steep. But if you had a gate up at the top, a car could drop them off, and there's a level footpath across the whole way where they can go and visit their graves.
Okay.
So he has said that the council will carry out that work. He has said that the council will give us paint to paint the wall over there.
Would they give you use of machineries and things like that? No,
that's all something that we're going to have to come up with ourselves. Yeah.
So I suppose it's just about then doing your best to get people involved, and obviously people have been very generous already.
Yeah.
The people you listed out there at the beginning, Johnny and Wayne and
Sean and Tom.
Yeah.
But and we've had offers, and already came over that day, Johnny McLaughlin, Jack McLaughlin, I always call him, from the swimming days in Assylinn. But, the Finbar Feely came over. Everyone came together, and that's what's needed.
Great.
And I think a cemetery, regardless of what I think of you or you think of me or whatever, a cemetery is one place where everyone can come together for the better good.
Yeah.
And
I think, as you said, Lucy, everyone wants the same thing.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
And you'd hope when we all pass that we'd have a committee like the Friends of Assylinn that want to look after the place and keep it.
Yeah. Look, we all anybody ever wants is something peaceful. Like, even we have suggested footpaths going over from, let's say, Stewart's, Carty's, over that direction. There isn't a footpath from there to Assylinn, and there is often people that still walk behind the hearse. It's not particularly safe for them, and even normal walkers, if they meet a car, there's either a ditch either side and you can kind of go into it, whichever you want. So that has been suggested, and that's a fantastic idea that was brought to us at the original meeting. And also we were on about hedging and
we put a list of works together, and we have emailed them to the council. Now, we did have the engineer over with us, myself and Sinead, a couple of weeks ago. And we went through the whole graveyard, and we told them that we're not just focused on the graveyard, because there's a lot to be done with the approach going to the graveyard. As you're coming from town, the riverside on the left, that has been neglected.
Oh, it's gone very bad.
The grass has not been cut there by the council. It must be for 5 years. Now, the engineer says he wasn't aware of that, but it hasn't. And, I mean, it's an eyesore. There's no reason why, as Lucy says, there can't be a footpath put on the right going the whole way up. You have past Carty's garage, you start along there, along the stone wall, and go over the other side. The drain that's there is a dry drain. There's no reason there can't be a footpath up there. It's a health and safety hazard that there is no footpath, because there's so many pedestrians that do go over. And as Lucy said, walking behind a hearse and everything as well, and then you have the overhanging trees. I mean, it's that whole area is neglected. You know, but we've taken that, haven't we?
Yeah.
You know, and we've took it up with the engineer, and it's something that, you know, we're going to fight for to have done as well. You know, because I mean, it does need doing.
So in time, you'd be thinking of the whole approach from, say, where the old factory was.
Yeah, where Nair, the old Nair factory was. Yeah, on both sides going over.
It's actually something I never thought about, was somebody that wanted to walk. Like, you know, we take it for granted. We can just
hop in the car. And
yeah. Or even if you want to walk, you're able to get off the road really quickly. But if somebody with mobility issues, they can't jump into a hedge.
Yeah, but even now, I mean, it's, I don't know whether it's the sign of the times of that, but, you know, there's so many younger people now, you know, that's passing, and you see their families walking up to the graveyard, and you see mothers and partners coming with
children,
kids, you know, and they're trying to watch out for the kids, listen for traffic coming and that.
Look,
it's the simple answer is a footpath.
Yeah, it's common sense at the end of the day that nobody before, I suppose it has been thought about, but nobody that has voiced it before we came along. It is daft when you think about it, you know, that it is a health and safety thing. You know?
Yeah. And well, I suppose on that note, talk to us a little bit about your future plans. And we mentioned just there before I remember to press record about your GoFundMe page. So you plan to set up a page where people at home and away, they can donate however small they can.
Yeah, that's something that Lucy is going to set up for us, because she's our tech. I'm well
There's
beyond.
always one, Lucy.
Yeah, I'm well beyond that. But Lucy is going to set up a GoFundMe.
We have a church gate collection for Easter weekend, hopefully organised. And we were kind of hoping in and around that time we would set up a GoFundMe, and hopefully we can, I suppose, get funds, because at the moment we have nothing. So this may help that situation.
And when do you think, Lucy, you'll be setting up the GoFundMe? After the Churchgate collection?
In and around.
In and around the same time.
We'll set the two of them up around the same time.
So that's what, the end of March? What's Easter this year?
Easter is April 19 and 20, I think.
Okay.
19 to 20.
It's late.
Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, this year. But you know, like, people have been in touch since they seen the clean-up photographs, people that's away, and said, you know, have you somewhere where we can put a bit of funding for to help you out? But, like, we hadn't. You know, so hopefully now come April, we'll have all of that in place, you know. And our Karen out there, they write to all the, as they call them, stakeholders in the cemetery, which would be graveholders in the cemetery.
Okay.
And they get a contribution for the maintenance of the graveyard, you know. So we're just going to look at all our options, but, you know, we're not going to, we understand.
We're taking snippets for everybody.
Yeah, and we understand, you know, that there's nobody out there with a big ball of money or able to give big ball of money, you know, whatever. So we're going to be grateful for every euro that we can get, you know, through the GoFundMe, through the church gate collection, and whatever. You know, if anyone is willing to come on board with us and help us out, you know, with stuff, I mean, that's equally as important to us, you know, because the trees, to get the trees removed, is going to cost thousands. And it's something we're going to have to do, because they are a major health and safety issue, and just, you know, causing destruction.
During the storms,
both in the old and the new cemetery, because the debris is flying both ways. Like, that's going to take an awful lot of funding. But if anyone that's willing to come on board and help us out in any way as regards in getting jobs done, we'll be looking for people to do concrete and different tasks, things like that. And if anyone is willing to give us some of their time or whatever, we'll be grateful for anything that we can get to get this project off the ground.
Great. So every little help.
Oh God, yeah. There's no such thing as any bit is too small. You know, we're starting with nothing. You know, we're starting that we've had to, you know, from the very first day, fight to get to the point we're in. It's took us months, but we're this side of it. So we are willing to take any little bit of help that we can get from anybody that's willing to give it to us, no matter what kind of help it is.
Great. And girls, will you have more community clean-up days?
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. We haven't a date or anything in mind, but that was the idea, to have it every so often. Would say within the year, you could 4 or 5, 6 kind of during the year. Because that's what it needs. It just needs that constant. And that first cleanup, there was an awful pile left. But as these cleanups keep happening, the pile is going to get less and less, and it's going to be easier and easier to keep maintaining the graveyards. But I suppose because the old graveyard is so big, we didn't nearly touch half of it. We just touched the front of it, really. So that's the idea. We'll have a couple a year, and we'll, as I said, we'll advertise them. So we'll let you know.
So I suppose just tell everyone to keep an eye on the Facebook page. That's where everything will be updated.
Yeah.
And
the community hub.
And the community hub, we'll share everything.
Yeah.
And once the GoFundMe is up and running, that'll be shared as well.
And we have an email address as well at Assylinn Cemetery @gmail.com. So even people that aren't on Facebook or anything, that's where you can get us that way either.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And the GoFundMe will be open all the time as well. So
we'll play by ear with that.
We have to chip in first to get a euro to open the account.
Yeah. See how it goes.
But so as it says, the appeal is going out there to anyone from Boyle, whether you're at home or you're away. If you have a loved one buried in Assylinn Cemetery, I mean, we're looking for your help to give them the resting place that they deserve.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's it, girls. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap up?
I'd just like to say thank you to everyone so far for their support. It's marvellous. And thanks to you and Carlo for giving us space on the community hub and sharing all our stuff. And we want to wish you the best as well. We're going to miss you.
Yeah, we'll be back hopefully for the summer cleanups.
and thanks to yourself and Carlo for doing the drone footage and the photographs. I mean, without help like that, we can't afford to do these things, and we're thankful to you for that.
Yeah, I suppose it really is a community effort.
Yeah.
Like, do you know the way some people would say, oh, well, I'm not free on that Sunday. You mightn't be, but there might be something else you could do.
Yeah.
Like even donate a couple of pairs of gloves or something,
Well, that's it too. We tried to get gloves last time. It was a bit of an ordeal, but we got them eventually.
Yeah, we tried. We asked the council, because I remember years ago they used to give out black bags and gloves if you were doing a clean up for the community and bits and pieces, and we asked the council, no, we don't do that anymore, and that one thing and another. So I got in touch with Councillor Michael Frayne and Balladrine, and he sorted it for us. He got the stuff for us.
Yeah.
I mean, I do not understand, like, when community groups are set up and they're trying to do the best they can, that the council does not come and meet you halfway, even with the likes of gloves, with the likes of bags, with the likes, they did come and take the rubbish away.
Oh, yeah,
and they collected in Assylinn
very quickly, in fairness.
Yeah, which we appreciated, but is that the sum total of it?
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, girls. Well, I suppose it's the community that'll have to fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
And the pretty big ones, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. But, we're determined, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, you've done a lot since November.
Yeah.
It's hard to get up and running and set things up properly.
Well, it was an eye-opener even for me. This is the first of any committee I've ever been on. So it's been a huge eye-opener for me that all this has to go into it. And it's a pile of information that has to set up a committee. So in fairness, the other girls on the committee as well, like they really did pull out the stops to get that done until now.
Like everyone has worked together. The 6 have just clubbed everything they can together to be able to get this off the ground.
Correct.
And we're off the ground now, and it's onwards and upwards.
That's it.
And as I said, men don't really like dealing with a bunch of women, but we've news for them. The 6 of us, and we're here to stay. So, you better be weary.
Yeah. The women will get the work done.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be done yesterday.
Yeah. So...
Well, fair play to you, girls. And we'll put it out there. We'll put the links in in the comments or in the notes a link to the email address and all of that you have set up. And best of luck and thanks for giving your time. It's such a worthwhile cause, and as I said, everyone in Boyle nearly has a connection to the graveyard, so
This is it, yeah.
it's a lovely thing.
Yeah.
It's a lovely thing to keep it so well kept and peaceful and quiet. Yeah.
Oh yeah, when you come back you'll hopefully see a difference.
Yeah, I will. Well, thanks a million, girls.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.